Okay, so for the first round, we're going to start with Ms. Evans, and everyone will answer the same question, just to be clear. Many residents feel the county is growing too fast in some areas, while other communities are being overlooked. How will you manage growth in a way that balances economic development with preserving Stafford's character?
Oh, well, you know, I can say Stafford is one of the fastest growing counties in Virginia, so growth is just really, really inevitable. It's going to happen. Our population has grown from about 157,000 in 2020 to nearly 170,000 today. We're literally growing at 1.5% for each year. And it is projected to reach almost 196,000 by 2035. So growth is not something that we can stop, as I said, but it's something that we must manage responsibly. So as the next supervisor for Falmouth, I plan to ensure growth comes with the necessary investments in roads, our schools, and public safety, so that our families are left bearing the burden that are not bearing the burden of traffic, overcrowded classrooms, and strained services. So my approach is balance. Welcome growth that strengthens Stafford while making sure it never compromises our community's safety, character, and quality of life. Every decision that I make will be guided by one question: does this make Stafford better, safer place for our families?
Thank you.
Thank you. I think development needs to pay for itself, right? I think when whether it be housing or industry, commercial development, we always need to get something else from them than just being here. They need to help us with our roads, help us with our schools, especially if it's housing developments, help us with our infrastructure. That's one of the ways. I also really want to be an inclusive leader. That's what I strive to be. So I don't feel like my vision for Aquia is the only vision. I feel like I need to hold town halls. I need to engage with my constituents. I need to understand what is our collective vision for Aquia. That's really what I want to be able to focus on. Once we determine what our collective vision is for Aquia, those are the things that I would pursue. I would love to see Aquia Town Center actually developed. I would love to be able to, within the next 6 months, come back to Aquia residents and tell them why it's not developed and then how we can move forward. I understand there's certain things going on now. I know there was a closed session recently about the Aquia Town Center, so, you know, we're not sure what's going on there, but we absolutely deserve a right to know. I just think we need to be considering all of our options when it comes to our development. Where are we going to put it? How is it going to help? How can it maybe not help, right? We just have to be really, really smart with every decision we make, and we shouldn't rush things. We shouldn't push things through, and that's basically how I'm going to leave.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Many residents feel the county is growing too fast in some areas, while other communities are being overlooked. How will you manage growth in a way that balances economic development with preserving Stafford's character?
Thank you. I definitely think that you can't manage growth. Only thing you can do is plan for it. I think Stafford County needs a consistent plan and to be able to effectively communicate that to the residents. There's nothing more frustrating than, as a citizen, driving around and trying to figure out what's next, right? So I think the communication and the collaboration is key here. The other thing that it's not a binary choice. Oftentimes it's, hey, either we're going to grow and be Tyson's, Fairfax, and we're going to lose our rural appeal. Well, that comes from lack of planning. That comes from lack of leadership. I think, I've said this before and I'll say this again publicly, the collaboration amongst the Board of Supervisors needs to be better. Those positions are nonpartisan, and nonpartisan for a reason. You know, it's been mentioned before on the Republican side and the Democratic side, but we're all citizens, and we're all the community of Stafford. Partisanship is anti-community, and I think the more we work together, we can solve these complex issues together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So how do we manage growth? We know it's coming. We know it's on its way. We had the director of the regional area tell the board that we're going to have 40,000 residents in the next 40 years in Stafford. Well, how do you plan for that? You have an urban services area where water and sewer are provided by the county. We have to make sure that any growth that we do have is within that urban services area. The more we restrict growth inside the urban services area, the more they're inclined to buy land out in town and cause this urban sprawl that we're talking about. We have to find a way to have affordable housing. You know, we talk about no growth, no growth, no growth. Well, the teachers, the first responders, the young families, what are we doing for them? How are we providing something for them? We have to find a way to make affordable housing work in Stafford County. Economic development. We have to find out what drives the economic development. How does growth and economic development work together? Are they completely mutually exclusive? Or is there a trigger for the economic development that's driven by growth? And how we manage that growth to ensure that we get the economic development, or it comes to Stafford, that we've all been looking for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have been growing way too fast. So on some years we're slightly under 2%, some years we're over 2%. And that is a significant amount of growth. That is not going to stop because of our location. We are essentially halfway between DC and Richmond. And then when we're out on the Hartwood end, we're a little over an hour from Charlottesville. In order to manage that growth, we need to work with inside the comprehensive plan we have, and we need to continuously update that. We are not always working with inside that comprehensive plan. We get the numbers, like if you were here earlier and listened to the school board, from Lionel. We know what that population perspective looks like, yet we are rezoning homes, we're rezoning construction that's outside of the plan that we are not able to support. We have to slow down. We have to stop bending to the developer's will just because they wave $1 at us, right? We need to make sure that we're balancing economic development by not putting in impact fees that are going to stop development to begin with, but having those businesses contribute on the back end. That's where the B-poll tax comes back in, right? If we have a successful business, we've got companies that are trillion-dollar companies that are not paying on the gross income that they make off of Stafford County. If we start collecting on that, that will help with our infrastructure significantly. We have failed to collect on that for the last 16 years.
Thank you very much.
Okay, first we have to start thinking out of the box. Right now, 5,000 homes can be built by right, and Stafford won't see 1 cent for schools or anything else. By right, that means they could build on a 3 or 6 acre lot. But you know, I've talked to some of these developers, and let's say they have 1,000 acres and they could build 150 homes. That developer would prefer to build those 150 homes on half the acreage and give the other acreage back to Stafford. If you want to preserve the rural nature to some degree, you think out of the box and you work out a cooperative arrangement with developers instead of making them the enemy all the time. Because some of them want to do the right thing. The other thing you do, limit rezonings unless they are in the interests of the citizens and in a place where they can be supported and they provide their share. There are ways to do this. We're not going to cut off population growth entirely, but we can manage what's coming a lot better and still preserve some rural aspects of Stafford County if we think out of the box and start working cooperative arrangements with some of the people who have vested economic interests in what goes on in this county.
Thank you.
My philosophy in growth is smart and responsible growth. It's managing the growth that we have. We didn't come here today and the growth was just happening. It's been going on for over 20 years. And coming into, say for example, Garrisonville, the Emery Mill community, for example, that's a planned growth. Planned community from 1980. And so you have walkability. You have to prioritize walkable communities that keeps families connected, ensuring that infrastructure keeps pace so we can preserve Stafford's character while preparing for its future. Smart growth means that building ways where parents can walk their kids to school. So in other words, if we had, for example, some neighborhood schools, 750 kids would walk to school, and you would have less traffic, you would have less buses on the road. So we have to think outside the box, yes. We have to ensure that these things that we're thinking about when we are talking about, for example, small area plans, that we look at these things responsibly and ensure that the building that we're doing is strong. We have walkable neighborhoods today for our children and grandchildren to be proud to call home tomorrow.
Thank you.
As has been said, I think, by most of, if not all of the candidates here, smart growth, I've heard smart growth, smart growth. I agree with that. That would be the way in which I would serve in my role as a supervisor. But let's first start with a plan. The comprehensive plan, which if you've ever read it, is, I think it's fair to good. Over my 30 years experience in the professional arena, I've worked to create plans in NGOs, these are nonprofit organizations, that are run basically as businesses. There's only one difference. Nonprofit simply means that the profit doesn't go into a shareholder's pocket. It goes back into the mission of the organization. It still must and should generate profit for the mission. But these plans are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're results-oriented, and they're based on time and benchmarks. And I know that it's written that way in our county's comprehensive plan, but I don't think it's managed that way. So let's start at the very beginning. Let's begin with the end in mind. Let's work the plan, or let's revise the plan to make sure that it's easier, more practical, and more beneficial for county residents to achieve
Thank you very
balance. Thank you.
So for this next question, some of you kind of touched on parts of it, and we want you to go a little bit deeper with some specific steps. So Stafford has seen growth in gas stations, convenience stores, and storage facilities, but fewer large employers. What specific steps would you take to both attract major companies that provide high-paying jobs and to support policies or incentives that help small businesses and entrepreneurs grow and remain in Stafford?
Thank you. I think it's definitely consistent with the last question. We need visible accountability. We need to address the current board. And quite honestly, the last 40 years here in Stafford has contributed to the state of Stafford County. So, you know, in order to attract commercial developers, Stafford needs to be attractive. We need to revamp and provide our vision to commercial developers. So there, you know, somebody touched on it earlier, they were talking about, you know, how much money is spent out of the county. To give you an understanding of exactly how much money is spent out of Stafford County, it's $600 million annually. Lost revenue. Our money is going to Spotsylvania. Our money is going to Prince William. So we need to address why, and the why is pretty clear. We need to bring the restaurants and the need that everybody wants to stop with this consistency of driving down 95 to, you know, spend your money. We need that money, that revenue in this county. You know, this is definitely not a 2-minute, you know, answer. This is way more in depth, and somebody said it earlier, there's no way that we can solve these problems in 2 years, but we need to set Stafford on a road forward.
All right, so this is, again, goes back to the last question, really where the rubber meets the road in Stafford. All right, this is how we bring businesses. So what do we not know? I don't know what I don't know. And in the government, what they do sometimes is they'll run what's called an industry day. Those of you in the government understand what that is. They will bring businesses in, the government sits up at the front, and they will talk to the businesses about what's going on in the government. Well, how about we do this? How about we do what's called, in the government, a reverse industry day, where the businesses sit up on the stand, and the government sits in the audience, and we ask the businesses what their problem is with what we do in Stafford. A reverse industry day would immediately tell us, we have red tape, we have roadblocks, we have cumbersome business practices. This is what we need to fix. Now we know what we're going to be doing. Let's talk about staffing for a minute. Do we understand that staffing levels at the business and the government are at the 2010, 2011 staffing levels? That we had a board that wanted to cut taxes, and so they went to the staff and said, I need a 25% cut. Doesn't really matter how it impacts the government, cut it. Do you think after 15 years we've come back, or 14 years, we've come back to those levels? No. We don't address that. You never hear that. We have a permitting problem. How do you fix it? You make sure that you have the staff necessary to be able to do the work required. Thank you.
We need to start utilizing the tools that Virginia gives us. VDEP has a wide variety of opportunities on the state level in which we can use state funding and federal funding in order to entice businesses that we want. We have the land. You see it right now because it's being proposed for data centers. We need to be thoughtful in how we're using that land, how we're allowing it to be rezoned, and making sure that it's available for employers that we are going to be able to work with, that are going to be able to provide for our community. We need the infrastructure that's going to entice the big businesses that we want. If we don't have the walkability, we don't have the schools, businesses are not going to come here because their employees aren't going to want to live here. So it is a united effort in hitting all of those marks. That way we can pull them in and have them want to stay and work with us. But if we're putting up the roadblocks, if we're putting up the red tape, it's hard to get churches in here because we can't get things through planning and zoning. We are way understaffed in planning and zoning. And that is one area where we need to look at how much we are paying people and if we should be paying people more to be competitive in order to get the expertise that we need. But we also need to be fair in how we are moving things through planning and zoning and making sure that everybody is getting a fair chance and they're not getting stuck behind the trillion-dollar companies.
Thank you very much.
How many of you have been out to Stafford Airport? I sit on the airport authority, and I've made my personal mission to get us, oh, I'm sorry. Does this not work anymore? Oh, no. How about now? Okay. I've made it my personal mission to get us commuter airline service at Stafford Airport in the next 3 or 4 years. So you can jump on Delta Connection, American Eagle, and avoid I-95. You know how many executives fly in there, but the pilots didn't even know that there's an airport in Stafford. We're not getting the word out. We have land to offer if we offer it to the right entity. I don't want an auto assembly plant in Stafford. I'm not sure you do. If we offer tax incentives and make it easy for the right kinds of businesses to come in, they'll come in. And if we're going to give the data centers this ridiculous tax break, we sure can give some businesses that we want some economic incentives. We've got an educated and trained workforce here. We have a wonderful program in the schools that's cranking out HVAC technicians and avionics mechanics and things like that. So all we have to do is put all that together, advertise, get the word out, simplify the process so that a businessman doesn't come in here, make an investment, and has to wait multiple years paying an interest on his money to get a decision and get his business started. This is all doable. We just have to think out of the box.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Stafford has seen growth in gas stations, convenience stores, and storage facilities, but fewer large employers. What steps would you take to both attract major companies that provide high-paying jobs and to support policies or incentives that help small businesses and entrepreneurs grow and remain in Stafford?
So one of the things and I'm sure someone already mentioned it, that the things that you see today have been coming around from planning and zoning like 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years. Distribution centers and data centers, this is something Youngkin wanted, and so we're here today. But when you look at Garrisonville, for example, because that's who I was elected to serve, I want to bring about expanding that recreational and quality of life opportunities. I remember, if anybody remembers, we had a bowling alley, really small back there by Wawa, and where Frank's was, so that's 32 years ago. So we need to explore recreational activities like what's called a soccerplex or a sportsplex that will go along with what we currently have. We have the Rouse Center, we have a pool, we have soccer fields, and if we have a sportsplex that has perhaps, yellow I hope, that have perhaps adult drinks that we could work towards with economic development, the authority and the county, who are working closely together, like I said before, and to attract businesses and amenities that our residents will want. We already had a survey, we know what we want, but I'm committed to doing that. Recreation is healthy for the community. I want to balance growth, expand recreational opportunities, and connectivity of sidewalks to improve the life of our Stafford families.
Thank you.
I agree with, again, many of my fellow candidates. Number one, I would be instrumental in calling together what I would call a visionary meeting, all of the interested, all of the leadership, stakeholder leaders, sort of what Bart said, a reverse industry day, but let's call it a visionary type process. Number two, and I've heard this from multiple constituents in different parts of the county, and we've all heard it, and it's been touched on here. And again, government, I mentioned it in my answer to the last question, which it gets big and bigger and bigger. It doesn't necessarily become more efficient, and I don't necessarily think that smaller equals efficient either. It's what do we need and how do we employ the resources we have. And I'm absolutely committed to getting to the bottom of why the Economic Development Authority has, shall we say, changed uniforms several times over the past few years. I've heard about big picture thinking, and then I've heard people, and I'm not saying I believe this entirely, I've heard people saying, well, we don't want people walking around talking about home ec. I don't know if that's true, but like, what is it that we want? We need to identify that, and then finally, we need to incentivize, and incentivize. Do it right, do it with purpose, do it with conviction, and yes, people and entrepreneurs will come in.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Stafford has seen growth in gas stations, convenience stores, and storage facilities, but fewer large employers. What steps would you take to both attract major companies that provide high-paying jobs and to support policies or incentives that help small business and entrepreneurs grow and remain in Stafford?
So I can say this, if you look at Geico is like one of the largest employers. So we have to look at, like, what did we do to get them here? We have the EDA, I'm sorry, not the EDA, but the ED who would recommend, to businesses, hey, come here, try to come to Stafford. It's then the planning commissioner's responsibility to recommend businesses or, make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. So if the planning commissioners are not making those recommendations, the Board of Supervisors can't approve good businesses coming here. What I would say as a supervisor, and just for constituents, you have to change your planning commission in order for us to stop having the used storages, the gas stations, you know, all the other things that the constituents do not want here. When it comes to businesses, what I would say is that we need to partner with ED and say, hey, this is what we want, this is what our citizens are wanting, and we need to bring this here. And so as a board of supervisor, that is what I would do, and work across the aisle.
Thank you.
I think we've heard a lot of good ideas, because I don't think there's a one way to eat this, right? To bite this apple. I think we have to do almost every option that we've heard of here. I've been speaking with a lot of business owners, and I know one of the issues is the red tape. We've got to make smart cuts. I know that someone mentioned zoning and appeals, and I heard a developer say one day, who's been developing in Stafford for years, they said something like, you guys keep putting new things on, but you never take anything away. When is the last time you looked at it and took something away? Some of the issues that we're having that is stopping economic development don't need to be here. So I think we need to make smart cuts. Someone else also mentioned CTE, which is what our schools are doing, right? We've got specialty centers that are opening up, but we do have one that is coming that will be dealing with aviation. But there are businesses out there that want to partner with us, and we'll educate the students, and then we can have the workforce ready, and the businesses will also come. I was going to mention, like, what do we do to get Geico? You know, because that's one of the things. We had Kalahari that wanted to come here. It's opening up at 126 because the board at the time voted them down. Buc-ee's wants to come here. I'm not saying I'm for or against Buc-ee's, but I do know that they took Stafford off of their website. That is the other prong of this, is that we need to have a board that knows what the community wants, listens to the community, and works together so that we're not unattractive.
Okay, for our last question, before our final round of closing statements, this is an NAACP forum, so it should not come as a surprise. Given Stafford County's high median household income and data that some Black households are in the top income brackets, what specific strategies would you pursue to make sure leadership connects with Black residents, regardless of income? So we'll start with Mr. Randall.
You know, that's a great question. And the reason is because everybody's a constituent. Everybody's a resident. And the way you get out and talk to everybody is you get out and talk to everybody. You have a town hall. I'm having my first town hall on Monday. I'm making myself available in a town hall setting to talk about some very critical things in Garrisonville, in the county. We make sure everybody's involved. We make sure everybody has a seat at the table. When I go knock doors, I don't knock doors on just the single-family homes. I knock doors everywhere. Because every person needs to listen to me. I need to listen to them. We need to communicate. I need to know what their concerns are. They may not always want to call me on the phone or send me an email, but they surely will come to a town hall where they can just sit and listen. It's important that we communicate. It's important that we have transparency. It's important that we do what is necessary to bring people into their lives. Because believe it or not, this county and what we do is their life. It affects them. They need to know that. They need to know how they can impact those decisions, and we can make it happen. Thank you.
So we were talking the other night of how our school system has become a minority majority, and we have such a diverse population in Stafford County. Our U.S. Census is showing 37% of our population is in U.S. born. So meeting people where they are and communicating them on their level, making sure that we are giving opportunities to have people come to town halls so we can listen to them, as well as share the information that we have for them. Texting people, emailing people, responding when they text or email us. Creating different opportunities to communicate with people outside of regular hours. If you're working all day, and you get off at 5 o'clock, you're not going to be able to show up at a supervisor's meeting at 5 o'clock. So there has to be other ways that you're able to connect with people. And we do that through a variety of different ways, a variety of different opportunities in order to communicate, right? We need to go out and door knock, not just when we're trying to get your vote for campaign season, but all year long. Come to our homes, talk to us about what's going on. Give us an opportunity to know what's going on and how we can be a part of it. Letting the community know when we are filling these planning commission positions, when we're filling the EDA positions. All of those positions are appointed by the board, but very few of our...
Thank you very much.
The way to do it is get out and talk to people, clearly. I serve as the chairman for the advisory board for the Salvation Army for 5 counties, Stafford being one of the 5. It's been an eye-opening experience because you find out what people need, what their real hopes and desires are, where they're being helped and where that help is falling short. My wife serves with 2 food banks in Stafford County and a variety of other volunteer organizations. As has been said, you've got to make yourself available. You've got to get out and talk to people. While I want to be the supervisor for the Aquia District, I am the supervisor for the county. And my responsibility is to the citizens of the county. So all I can do is listen and act. I may not always be able to fix it, but I'll be a voice. And you start that way, by hearing what people have to say and showing them that you give a damn.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question again, because I know those. And it's okay. That doesn't mean that they weren't from here or from another county or state just because they don't speak English. So we need to serve everyone, and that's what I intended to do when I started on this road. Running was commissioner before, and then the school board, and now Garrisonville. So this is not new to me to include everyone, not just door knocking or having HOA meetings. I meet them everywhere where they could meet, either at Panera or over the phone, anywhere. I talk to everyone. And when it comes to the people, brown and black, that are now majority in this county, it is not because you have to now meet with them. I do it all the time. And I do it with everyone that wants to meet and talk to, because it's the right thing to do when you're in this position. This is not about white or black. This is not about Republican or Democrat.
Mr. Catell.
Yes. Simply listening and being present, authentically present. I think that, and I'm learning this as I think we all are. I'd like to say I've arrived, but I haven't. But I'm learning that it's more important to turn off the device. Obviously, turn it on so you can be contacted. But when you're talking to someone, turn off the device and really listen. And chances are, maybe 50% of the time, they're going to disagree with me, and I'm going to disagree with them, especially on how to get to the end. But I'm going to listen. And it's just that simple. Authentic listening, real presence, and availability. There may be only one time, I would think, that the board or board members, because of rules, and they're important, if there's 3 or more, I think, in the room, it constitutes a meeting. So you could be FOIA'd. You gotta be respectful of that stuff. But individually, I think we can do more in that regard, all of us. And I would simply want to be certain that that is something to which, if I earn your vote and other constituents vote, I would be held to account. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you if you can repeat it.
Given Stafford County's high median household income and data that some black households are in the top income brackets, what specific strategies would you pursue to make sure leadership connects with black residents regardless of income.
So I can say, you know, as a supervisor, I believe it's my duty to serve every community in Stafford. That includes making sure the voices of the Black community are heard and represented. It's not illegal to invest in Black people. It's just not. And so as a supervisor, I would say investing in Black people, make sure that we have equitable investment, ensuring county resources are distributed fairly, economic opportunity, supporting Black-owned businesses through small business grants, workforce development, and making county contracting more accessible and transparent, but more importantly, representation and engagement, building stronger partnerships with our local churches, our civic groups like the NAACP, and historically Black organizations, so that our policies will reflect the needs and priorities of the community. So I would say, as the next supervisor for Falmouth, I plan to make inclusivity more than a talking point. I want it to be practice in how we budget, how we plan growth, and how we deliver services. I would say when every family in Stafford has equal opportunity, we will succeed. Again, it's not illegal to invest in brown and Black people.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll answer that with like an example. So like I said earlier, I'm on the school board, and I championed us having halal foods for our Muslim students. But the implementation of how we did that, that's where there's equity for the students. Instead of just having like a sign that says halal, not every student can read in English, and not, even like 4- and 5-year-old kindergartners cannot read. We have pictures that would say pork, or you know, something that showed that it is halal, or vegan, or vegetarian. And that's meeting the students where they are, and I believe in meeting all of our constituents where they are. I've been Black for about 50 years, okay? And I'm probably gonna stay Black, and I'm a card-carrying member of the NAACP. But truthfully, I would engage with the Black community the way I engage with any specific demographic. You know, meeting people where they are, attending churches, making those connections with Black churches, so that way they know they can come to us. When our maintenance workers at the schools wanted to get higher pay, and they engaged with me privately as their school board member, I brought an interpreter because I could not speak their languages. That is meeting them where they are. I'm degreed in societal equity. I know how to engage with every demographic of human on this planet. I can get it done.
Thank you.
It's a great question. It's a great question. So I grew up very, very poor, in a very, very poor community. The start of your question addresses the amount of income that my family makes, right? Because that's what, I would consider my family one of those successful families that live in this community. One of the reasons I'm running, last year we had a microburst in our neighborhood, devastated our neighborhood. It was like, we thought it was a tornado. We reached out to the county. People in our neighborhood reached out to the supervisor specifically, and nothing. I think engagement is important. Reaching out, this is a very small community. And I think that there's nothing more impactful to a resident to have its leaders come and meet them where they are. And I think doing that, it doesn't matter what background, where you're from, or anything. I think you can connect with anybody as long as it's authentic. And it's not during an election season, or it's not doing, hey, I need you to do something for me. Authentic. Meeting people where they are. And one of the reasons I'm also running is representation matters. When you see individuals like you, that gives people the courage to address. There's nothing wrong with that, but it gives people the courage to address it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're going to enter into our closing statements. Every candidate has 2 minutes, and we're going to start with Dr. Yeung.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for this opportunity and for the thoughtful questions tonight. As I said before, I raised my family here. I taught in classrooms and served both the school board, and now as your Garrisonville supervisor, I'm asking for your re-election and your vote. What I hope you've heard tonight is that I am more than titles and degrees. I'm someone who rolls up her sleeves and delivers results for her community. From internet cafes during COVID to Reflect Stafford helping paraprofessionals of color become teachers, to securing pay raises for educators and first responders. My work has always been centered on fairness, service, and putting Stafford families first. Not only finding funding for Model UN, putting outdoor classrooms for kids because I think it's healthier when they're outside studying. So I believe Stafford's strength is in its people, diverse, hardworking, and full of potential. My commitment is to keep building a county where every family has the clear chance to succeed. I will be honored to continue that work with your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm running for supervisor because I think Stafford's at that crossroads, and I think we have to take the right path. As a career Army officer, I managed large organizations with budgets, with a variety of people, and I think I was able to produce superior results by holding people accountable, by motivating individuals and making sure money was correctly spent. When I retired, I got involved in the government here in various volunteer capacities. I mentioned to you the Airport Authority. I take great pride in that terminal out there because I was able to get it built with a state of Virginia aviation grant and a loan from Stafford County, which we are paying back. And if you haven't been out there, I really encourage you to go out there. I've been here for 28 years. I know where the bodies are buried. I know what works, what doesn't work, and I'm prepared to use that experience and, more importantly, my time for the betterment of this county. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am running to be your next Hartwood supervisor as I see Stafford at a crossroads as well. And I want the best for our county going forward. This has been my family's home for generations, and we hope to keep it as our home for generations to come. But we need significant changes in order for it to be a place that we can all grow and enjoy for years to come. We need to have accountability. We need ethical policies in place to hold people to the highest level. We need to have better infrastructure so our kids get the education that they deserve. And we need to have smart growth that is enabled by good policy that allows for businesses to come here and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I'm excited to be here. I wish we could do this all night. It's important that we talk about what we need in Stafford. I am proud to announce that I received the endorsement of the Stafford Education Association, which is kind of unique for an independent. I am committed to making the schools better. I'm committed to making sure that we have a better working relationship as a supervisor with the schools. As we know, as you've watched, that always doesn't happen. There is a disconnect. I'm committed to making that better. Right? I'm committed to making sure that my motto of public service, not politics, really means something. What does it mean to be a public servant versus to being a politician? We see enough politics already, both at the national level and, sadly, at the local level. Public service, that's what I will run, and that's what we will do as the supervisor. Okay? Also, just a reminder about our town hall. We didn't talk about data centers today. We didn't talk about school funding. We didn't talk about Buc-ee's. But we're going to have some town halls that talk about those three things. Come to our town halls. Learn about those things. Let's have a discussion about what those mean to you and what those mean to the county. And lastly, I will tell you this. As I talk to people at the door, if I asked everybody here what the definition of insanity was, what would you tell me? Everybody's in their mind. You already know what it is. Doing the same thing and expecting different results. If you like what you have, then don't do anything different. But as we've talked about here tonight, if you think that we could do better, then you have to do something different. Thank you.
So again, I just want to thank everyone for spending their Friday evening with us. This is very important. Everyone up here is, I think one stated, we're at a crossroads. We are. We're at a crossroads here in Stafford County. Every election, people say, this is the most consequential election. Well, this one is. This is an opportunity to change 4 seats on the Board of Supervisors. And, you know, to give credit to the current Board of Supervisors, they have tried initiatives to bring individuals here. But I've been told several times that they can't bring commercial businesses here because they have a bad reputation here in Stafford County. And this is our opportunity to change that reputation. We need new blood on the Board of Supervisors. And I think it's clear to everyone in this room. Vote the same, expect the same. Vote different, it'll be different. It may take some time to undo the things that's been done in this county for 40, 50 plus years. I'm running to be the next Hartwood supervisor because I'm passionate. It's not the money. It's not. My kids are here. It's not. I mean, we're not getting paid much. But what I do believe is what I started this forum with my original quote. The chiefest amongst you shall be servant to all. It is our job to serve our community. It is our job to serve our community. And I believe that if early voting starts September 19th and we have a significant turnout here in Stafford County, your voices are heard, and loud and proud about how tired you are of the current status quo, we will change Stafford County together. You can go to my website to learn more about me at oatsforvirginia.com. I have a table downstairs as well. I look forward to meeting and engaging with everyone personally and answering any questions that we weren't able to get to tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I just want to thank the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, and Bishop Lacey for allowing me to be here this evening, and most importantly, the community members who came out to support us or listen to us, critique us, whatever. I'm so thankful this is over because I have been so nervous, and thank you for making my legs stop shaking by holding it down. I appreciate it. I am running for Aquia because I love Aquia. I want us to live in a community where our community resources have enough. We have enough community resources to fund our schools, our first responders, our firefighters, we haven't mentioned them tonight, our police, firefighters that are career and volunteer. They need to give a shout out for that. We need to live up to our expectations that our citizens want. Marcus keeps bringing up how we need fresh change and new ideas. In Aquia, there are two new people for the board. I can tell you, again, I've said it before, I work incredibly hard at fostering good relationships out of respect and integrity and honor. That's my thing. I'm really proud of myself for that. It is not easy. I bite my tongue. I let people say stuff, and if you know me personally, ain't nobody got to clap back like a black woman. I bite my tongue so hard for Stafford County because it's not needed. We don't need a board of supervisors that has a horrible reputation because they do, and they need to own it. But that won't be with me. I sit on the board, at the school board. I've been voted into vice chair 2 years in a row by a Republican majority because I can work with people. I see people's humanity. I do not care about the politics. I care about the people, and that's what you get when you get me. You're going to get a board that's going to be honest because I'm going to call it all out from dice. They're going to be honest. We're going to tell you everything. And as we've heard from everyone here, there's a lot of issues going on in our county government.
Thank you very much.
I got my own mic. I know. just wanted to show people your leg. But okay. Again, I just want to thank the League of Women Voters, but also I'm truly honored to be before the NAACP Stafford branch, and a branch that I am proud to be a member of. A branch that carries the torch of justice for Stafford residents. So I'm here not just as a candidate, but as someone who understands that our future really depends on lifting every voice in our community, and especially the voices that history too often tried to silence. So when I say all voices matter, I'm not offering it as a slogan. I'm offering it a commitment, because I know that with every voice at the table, our communities will thrive. When families are heard in the halls of power, policies will change. I'm running because I believe Stafford County is stronger when every voice is represented in decision making. And let's be clear, too often decisions about our schools, our neighborhoods, and our future are made without truly listening to communities most affected. That must end. So as the next Board of Supervisor for Falmouth, I will ensure that the community voices don't just echo in the board chamber during board meetings, but they shape policy. I will make sure that in every conversation, constituents' voices about attainable housing, fair taxes, and economic growth is not an afterthought, but it's a starting point. So friends, the NAACP Stafford branch reminds me that progress is never given up. It is fought for, it is organized for, and it is voted for. So as your next supervisor, I intend to carry that forward, not just by speaking about how our community voice matters, but by governing it in a way that proves it. So I ask for your support, your trust, and your vote, and not just for me, but for the vision we share. A community we thrive, and voices are not only heard.
I want to echo thanks from my thanks, as other candidates did, to the NAACP, the Stafford County branch, particularly Yolanda and the entire team for all the good work that you've done here pulling this together. I understand it's a lot of work, and we appreciate it. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thanks also to the League of Women Voters for your good work. I grew up next to a guy who, my father and my mother, who was 60 years old when I was born. His first wife died. He owned a business. He was an immigrant in 1912. And I watched him serve his customers as a service station, gas station mechanic owner. I know what public service, I know what service means. I have been raised with it in my blood. For 30 years, I have been part of business and management experiences in large nonprofit organizations, working from the corporate board to request significant corporate contributions for a mission, a cause, to a church where I have been in various places in the country working with individuals who live in distressed communities, to also working for Germanic Community College and partnering with board members and donors to raise money for students who were just $1, perhaps, away from disaster, that is not finishing their degree. So I will bring that to the Board of Supervisors. I understand the discipline required to run an organization effectively, but I also understand the importance of delivering results that directly improve people's lives. Thank you.
So, by a show of hands, who learned something new tonight? Whether it was about a policy or a candidate, who learned something new? Excellent. And when is the first day of early voting? Friday. And when's election day? Excellent. Let's give our candidates a round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. If there's still more that you need to learn, I encourage you to visit their websites or have a conversation with our candidates. Thank you so much and have a good evening.